I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew nothing was going to stop me. So I knew that it didn't make sense to worry about it or to think about it too hard. I knew the more I thought about it, the less I would want to do it. And sometimes it would hit me like, oh, I'm going to leave for a long time and I don't know where I'm going.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I'm your host, Kelsey Ross, and today we are joined by a wonderful guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, I'm Tyler. I am 22. I'm from Philadelphia, and I did an exchange year in France in 2019.
Tyler, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with me. I'm so excited to get to know more about you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to share.
It's my absolute pleasure. So to begin, where did the idea of studying abroad first come to you?
So I was hanging out one night and my dad pulled up a news article about this girl who studied in Italy in high school. And that sort of planted the idea in my head. And from there, I told my French teacher about it, and she introduced me to YFU, and then the ball rolled from there.
Awesome. And I mean, I don't know if you were under the same impression as I was. I kind of figured that studying abroad was something that was only for college students, and clearly it's not. So why study abroad in high school as opposed to waiting until you're in college?
I don't know. I think I had a lot of ambition. I really liked learning French. I just felt the sort of passion within me to leave now. And part of it was finishing the high school after my exchange year and being able to tell all my friends about this cool thing that I did. So there was that element to it as well. Because I couldn't really imagine what I was getting myself into. I just thought it was such a cool idea, and I have the opportunity to do it, so why not do it?
Fair. And you had said you were talking to your French teacher. You've been studying French. How long had you been studying French before you studied abroad?
It was, let's say, 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it all through middle school and then high school as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why French as opposed to other languages?
I don't know. It's really arbitrary. I think I liked the French teacher the best in middle school. We had the choice between French, Spanish, and German. Our first year of middle school, we had each language, and then from then on, we could choose. So I chose French. And then that I was considering other countries as well. I really like Japan as well. But at the time, I had no background in Japanese, which scared me. So I wanted to choose a country where I felt a little more comfortable with the language. So I figured France or a French-speaking country was the best bet.
Totally makes sense. You had mentioned that you were wanting to go in the middle of your high school experience and then come back and finish high school. So when and what grade did you apply, and were you able to go abroad?
I left my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how your parents felt about this big decision.
They were, I think, surprised that I followed through with it. In the sense that when I presented the idea to them, they said, if I go through the effort to put all these things into place, then I can go. I think them saying that was them saying, yeah, right. But it turned out that I did put in the effort. I love my parents so much. I'm very grateful to them to have let me do this, because it did get to a point where it started getting serious when we started doing the visa stuff, when I got my host family assignment, and it's like they were always there at every step of the way. We drove to Washington together and with all my documents to get my visa sorted out. And it was a stressful experience, and they were not very happy to sort of let their son go, but they were also very excited to see what I would discover and experience.
Yeah. You really said, "Oh, is that a challenge? Challenge accepted."
Yeah. That was what happens for sure.
Yeah. And it's so wonderful that your parents were so supportive, even if it's hard. It's got to be such a hard thing for a parent to let their kid go and explore the world and not have them to guide them through it. But your parents sound so supportive and loving and wonderful, and you're really lucky.
I agree. And especially so soon. I guess at some point, a lot of parents have to say goodbye to their kids, but it's not until college or even after college. So, and basically since my exchange year, I've been abroad. Except I came back to finish high school, and then after that, I left again.
Oh, we are definitely going to have to come back to that.
Yes,
I've been very curious about that part of your story.
Yes,
but you had mentioned there were like visa issues and some struggles with that. Could you share a little bit about what happened?
It was just a lot of stress. It was a long drive, and it was the type of thing where if we forgot one document, we couldn't follow through. So we really had to be on top of everything. And my mom, of course, is the one who organizes all of that. She's on the administrative side of the family. So she puts a lot of pressure on herself to really make sure everything's prepared and perfect. And so I actually wasn't that stressed. I don't know why, but I just had this feeling in my head that it was going to work out. My mom, on the other hand, was kind of freaking out, but we made it.
Yeah, very mom thing to do, very mom response.
Yes.
It's interesting hearing that you had this very calm, cool, collected, just, I know this is going to work out sort of attitude with all of this. That is not something I hear all the time when talking to students and alumni about their experience.
Really?
So, no, what do you think made you feel so sure in all of this?
I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew nothing was going to stop me. So I knew that it didn't make sense to worry about it or to think about it too hard. I knew the more I thought about it, the less I would want to do it. And because I had it set in my mind that I knew I was going to do this, I just did my best to sort of not block it out, but just live in the moment until I had to actually think about leaving. And sometimes it would hit me like, oh, I'm going to leave for a long time and I don't know where I'm going. But but it wasn't something that discouraged me, that thought. It excited me more so.
Right. I think that's a really great mindset for anybody who's thinking of going on exchange to have. It's it's scary. It's definitely life-changing, but to just roll with it and say it's going to be fine. I'd like to bottle that up and pass that on to future students so that it can make it a little easier for them too.
Yeah, it's certainly a stressful experience, but no matter what it turns out to be, it'll still be something that will impact them and how they view the world. So just take the chance. It's good to feel nervous. It's good to feel excited. Just let the feelings happen.
Right. And I've always been told if you're nervous, if you care about it so much, then that's important to you. And that's a sign of something that is good, even if it is scary.
Yeah. We talk with YFU all the time about getting out of your comfort zone and how important that is. Of course, not to go too far.
Yes.
Because you can push the limits too much. But I think YFU is it's a very good environment to really get out of your comfort zone, and then that helps you grow.
I'd like to elaborate a little bit on what it is about YFU. What about the environment makes it a good place to test the comfort zone?
There's this whole organization behind you that was always there to support you. At least in my case, I did have some issues with my host family, and YFU was always there to help out, always there to listen. There were amazing local volunteers in my area that helped me when I was in need. So I couldn't imagine having done something like this without the safety net of YFU, nor would my parents ever have let me do something like this if YFU wasn't there sort of helping out.
Yeah. I'm glad that YFU was able to provide you with such a great support system and a safety net, and was able to make your parents feel a bit more at ease about letting their baby go and experience this brand new world. So you got through all the visa hassles and headaches, and you find out that you're accepted. What was that moment like for you?
It's funny because I don't really remember it.
Really?
I don't remember being accepted because I think in my head I was already accepted. I was like, there's no way they're not gonna.
I've got this.
I think I remember seeing an email and being super excited. But what I can tell you about what I remember more is when I was assigned my host family.
Yeah.
That I remember very vividly. Because we got an email with photos. I was lucky enough to receive my host family somewhat early, a couple months before I left. For a lot of students, that's not the case. And many students don't know even until they arrive sometimes, or very little before they arrive. So I was lucky to get my assignment early. And I remember opening that email, being super excited, and then running to my mom, like, look at my host family, they're blah, 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 look how cool, and blah, blah, blah. And she just starts crying. Like, no. Yeah.
Poor mom.
I feel like my mom went through more emotions during the YFU process than I did.
I've heard it be described as a roller coaster of emotions for a lot of parents who are having their child do this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can't blame them. That's a big decision.
Yeah.
What first stuck out to you about your host family that interested you or made you feel really excited?
Well, let's see. I actually, when I went to France, I did a language camp for 2 weeks. YFU France offers this sort of language camp in Tours. I don't think they're doing it anymore, at least not to the extent that they were. But basically, some certain exchange students were chosen for 2 weeks. I don't know why they were chosen. I don't know if we chose to do this or if they were chosen. In any case, there was a group of maybe 20, 30 exchange students from all over who gathered in Tours for 2 weeks, and we stayed in host families there. So my first host family in France was actually that 2-week family. And one thing I remember, just how direct she was, and how different her relationship with her children were than how my parents' relationship was to me. She was a lot more strict with them, but in a loving way. It introduced me for the first time to what extent family dynamics change between households. And another thing that struck me was the cooking as well. This first 2-week family, I really enjoyed the cooking that she did. But I was told it was more a special occasion type of cooking because because I was only there for a short time. So she really did a lot of special things. We also traveled a bit those first 2 weeks. I remember just seeing some of the countryside and just how beautiful it was around there. I think one of my favorite memories from those first 2 weeks were sitting outside, just like in the backyard with the host family, the siblings, and then she had a couple friends over, and we were all just laughing, sitting around outside the sun. It was the type of atmosphere that I had imagined France would be. And in those first 2 weeks, I sort of realized that. And then cut to, I go through the arrival orientation, and I'm in my permanent host family. And what I first noticed was their house. It was gorgeous. It was this sort of, it wasn't new. It was an older house. And it was with the stone and the moss, and it was in this little village. And I remember walking around the village. I would go for runs around the village and it would make me so happy. And then I'd talk to my host sister about it, and she'd be like, "Oh, I hate it here." And I'm like, she's like, "There's nothing to do here. It's so boring." And I'm like, "This is gorgeous here. What do you mean?"
Just stare at something.
That's
something to do.
So there was that. And then also my first host father was very into history. And France has a very deep and rich history that there are still traces of today. I remember he would take me out on drives and point out little stones on the road, be like, these were markers that the Romans used to mark out their roads that are still there today. So there are things like that where it made me very happy that I chose France. And just sort of solidified my desire to be there and my desire to improve. And I really worked hard learning French, almost to the detriment of sort of social relationships. I had to find a balance between actually sort of making efforts to learn the language and then actually going out and meeting people. I was too in the books. I needed to get in reality.
I mean, it's easy to get lost in the sauce, as they say.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying so hard to, sound like everything out and trying to make sure you don't sound silly or don't make a mistake. I especially with you being such a high achiever and being so determined, I could see how that would easily take over everything.
Yeah.
To backtrack a tiny bit, you had mentioned when you were traveling around with your arrival host family that you got to see other parts of France that didn't really match up with what you were expecting. So I'm curious what sort of your initial expectations of what France would be like before you got there.
Yeah. I always told myself before I left, I don't have expectations. I was like, expectations are bad. Let me keep them to a minimum. But I did have expectations. I for sure did. I had the image of just sort of this beautiful country with trees, big fields. And I don't know why I had the idea of riding a bike along a trail over these fields. That was the main image I had of France. And I think the image I had was also more based on the south of France as opposed to the north. I was placed more in the north, northern half of France, especially as the winter months came on. And that part of France, I was an hour or two from Paris. It was a little, it was very gray. And I don't think I expected how gray the winters were. So I really struggled with that. But yeah, because of the fact that I unbeknownst to myself, I did have this expectation of this beautiful countryside. Yeah.
You try to tell the students, don't have any expectations. It's really bad to have expectations, but it's kind of hard not to. I mean, you hear about these countries, you learn about them through like pop culture and through history, and you build up this idea of what you think you're going to experience. It's hard to not put that it's hard to put that to the side and not focus on that sometimes.
Right.
But I think it'd be honestly a little better to say manage your expectations. Yeah. It's not going to be exactly as you picture. You're not going to be having an Emily in Paris experience, but one can dream.
Yeah. Don't do what I did and tell yourself you don't have expectations when you really do. Because I don't think anyone can ever not have expectations. The country we're going to, we chose it for a reason. We have an image in our head of this country, and whether we want our exchange to conform to that image or not, we really need to know how to manage that. We need to recognize that image and sort of pick it apart. Yeah. And that's something I didn't do before I left. It's something I really only did when I realized that that it was not fitting that image anymore. And I had sort of a clash in myself about that. I was like, why?
And once you did become cognizant of the fact that you were having this sort of kind of shift and change around what this expectation was, and how did you go about managing that?
It wasn't the easiest process because I still am to some extent, but it's thanks to my exchange experience, it's much better now. But I was very stubborn. I like to paint, and I sort of treat life sometimes like how I do my paintings, which is I have an image of my head of how I want it to be, and I will be frustrated if that image isn't executed. And it was bad. I took that frustration out on my host family. It caused conflict between us. I remember there was my host family, so nice, being like, we're going to take you on vacation. Yeah. And then I'm complaining because I wanted to go somewhere else. Yeah. Like, why are we going here? I wanted to go there. Like, horrible behavior. And it's because I had this expectation that I couldn't grapple with. And I really only learned sort of how problematic that situation was when that conflict with my host family started, and when I had to sort of reflect on how I saw things.
Yeah. I hear from host families, from students, that expectation can definitely cause conflict, and then you kind of just get wrapped up in that conflict, and it can be hard to escape that loop.
Yeah.
occasion. And it sounds like you were struggling with that loop yourself.
Yeah.
Were you ever able to find a way to break yourself out of that, or did the relationship with the host family sour and was it not able to be repaired?
The relationship did sour for reasons. That was only one of the reasons. There were a lot of little things that built up over time. Me being a stubborn, sort of selfish teenager, as a lot of teenagers are.
Yes.
I had trouble following rules.
Yeah.
Rules that I didn't understand, that I didn't see as important. I sort of skipped out on sometimes, and very little things. I remember one of the things was use a plate when you eat the bread, because I used to put olive oil on bread as a little snack in the afternoon, and they were like, "You're getting olive oil on the table. Use a plate when you use a plate when you eat it." And I was like, "No, I'm just gonna wipe it after. It doesn't matter." And it was little things like that, like really stuff that's really seems insignificant, but over time it causes a lot of tension, especially if it's unresolved. And so sort of my expectations, not being able to manage my expectations and taking that out of my host family, and then sort of not following the rules as I should have, and the host family not being equipped to really deal with that. It was their first time hosting. They also had expectations for how it would go. And I think they expected for me to sort of be the perfect fit into their family, the perfect son. Because they had 2 daughters who just fit well into the family dynamic. Obviously they would fight sometimes, but they knew how things worked, and they did that amongst themselves, and they had a hard time teaching that to me. There were some things that they explained to me very well, and other things they expected me to observe and copy. But I did not do that. I did not make the efforts I needed to really adapt as I should have, and they didn't have the tools they needed to really guide me in that way, as maybe more experienced host families would have. So because of that, the relationship soured, and I did end up changing host families. But YFU was there during that whole process to really help me out, which was very nice.
Yeah. I'm glad that you did have support there to help you through a really difficult time.
Definitely.
I mean, it's other than managing expectations and trying not to hold on to that so tightly, do you have any advice for exchange students who may be about to experience a similar situation to you, and how they can adapt better to the surroundings that they're in?
I would say that it's important to sometimes not think about yourself, to really realize that the host family is putting in a lot of efforts just to have you in their home, even if they're not taking you out, even if they're not doing anything with you, they're lodging you, they're feeding you. And it's important to be grateful for that all the time, in any way possible, whether it's little gifts, even actions also speak louder than words. It's important to really show thanks as much as possible. And I think for exchange students entering into a similar sort of cycle of conflict, and then try to resolve it, and then it doesn't get resolved, but you pretend it's resolved, and then another conflict, and then it's just this loop that goes down, and then it becomes so overwhelming that you can't really surmount it. I think the most important thing to get out of that cycle is to step back and say thanks, and give thanks, and show your appreciation in any way possible, and to really just be there for the ride. Don't expect them to do anything for you, because they're already doing so much, even if you don't realize it. The more I grow up, the more I realize how much effort my host family put into me, that I didn't appreciate, because now that I'm living on my own, taking care of myself, I'm like thinking, what if I had a family and then I had welcomed a student? Like it's crazy. It's crazy what they're doing. And they're doing it because they want to learn. They want you to be part of their family. And that's something that, you have to think of the host family as well. So I would say sort of anything that you have expected that you want to do, just like by the time that conflict happened with my host family, when I changed host families, I told myself that I don't care what I do. I'm already in France. I'm going to school. I'm living the daily life of a French person. That's what I came here to do. And if I mean, my second host family, that's another story, but they were very, very deep countryside. So deep that you had to drive a car to the bus stop to get anywhere.
Oh, wow.
So I was basically trapped because my
Yeah.
host mom was working all the time, and we would get home from school. And even during time off, the weekends, etc., she wouldn't want to go anywhere. If she didn't want to go anywhere, we didn't go anywhere. So we didn't go anywhere. But I was okay with that in my head because I was like, I'm not here to live the daily life of a French person. I don't care where I go or what I do. This host family is already kind enough to take care of me. I'm not going to put more pressure on them.
Yeah.
It's really just knowing how to accept the situation you find yourself in. And just living in the moment and being grateful for what you do have, being grateful for the efforts that the host family is putting in. I think that's the first step to really avoiding those conflict situations.
And that's really emotionally mature insight that you shared. And I really think students will benefit from that. So thank you, one, for sharing. I think that's great advice to keep in the back of their heads.
I hope someone can benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that somebody out there is going to. I think several people out there will be able to benefit from that. And I also want to commend your own maturity and your own growth that you had. It sounds like such a short amount of time to be able to go from not having the great experience with the first host family to coming to the second one and saying, you know what, I asked to be in the daily life of a French family as a French person. Even if it's not matching what I wanted, I'm just grateful to be here. That's, I mean, that amount of maturity so fast. That is really commendable. And I hope you're proud of yourself for that amount of growth in such a short amount of time.
There was a bit of whiplash with it for sure.
Yeah.
But it was a necessary experience I had to go through to especially kick me off my high horse a bit.
And I think especially once you find that you are in that loop, it can be, I find that it can be easy to get involved into another loop of almost like a self-loathing, a regret and shame loop, and just being like, oh, I'm the worst person ever. And, you know, I've been so horrible. They're so horrible. Everything is horrible. And I hope any student who finds himself in those loops, for one, reaches out to get support and get help. And another, just doesn't beat themselves up too much, especially you all who are going through this as teenagers. You're growing. You're still kids. You're figuring it out. And you're figuring out so much in such a short amount of time and so fast. You're going through tremendous amount of change in such a short little in a little window of time. And I hope you don't beat yourself up, and I hope you don't get caught up in these moments of regret and shame. You're a kid. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay to say I was wrong and I'm sorry and try to mend and move on.
No, for sure.
But enough waxing poetic.
I would say as well, I regret not contacting YFU sooner.
Yeah.
Because I think what happened with my host family could have been resolved sooner if I had accepted that there was conflict. I think, again, me having these expectations, in my head, I was like, everything's going to work out because I had imagined it in my head, me having this life with this host family. So I didn't want to accept that it wasn't going well.
Yeah.
And
it'd be hard.
Yeah. So the conflict, when conflict situations would occur, I didn't resolve them very well. We would try to discuss it through, but it didn't really help fully. And in those moments, I wish I had called on YFU to actually help, because in the end, I really only called YFU when it started getting really bad. And by then it wasn't very mendable. So I think I would say to future exchange students to use YFU as a resource. YFU is there for you. And even at the slightest bit of tension or conflict, YFU people are there. They can provide advice. They can talk to both sides.
Mhm.
I think it's a much better way to handle the conflict.
Yeah, I can't agree more with you on that regard. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, for maybe a future host family or one who's hosting for their first time who is going through similar conflicts and situations like you experience, do you have any advice for them on how they can help get through these moments and support their family and the student?
I think a lot of it is talking gently.
Yeah.
In my case, the reason it was so hard for me to resolve conflicts and discuss conflicts with my host family was because I felt pretty intimidated constantly, because
Yeah.
when there was a conflict, it was all of them against me.
Okay.
It was, okay, let's sit around a table and discuss. But there are 4 people on one side and little me on this side.
Yeah.
So I think for host families, don't make it a big deal. I think it's better to talk to the student one-on-one, maybe choose one representative, and talk to them gently, really explain them, walk them through the logic of how you're feeling and how they're feeling, and just sort of arrive at a certain point of mutual understanding. Because I remember being in front of them, this like wall, and just being so nervous that I couldn't even get my words out. So I think it's best to, obviously this is coming from my exchange student perspective, to not put pressure on the student, to really come at them with an open heart, because we're young. We don't understand sometimes what we're doing. And I don't think it's fair to have the expectation of the student to come into the family and everything to work out. I'm sure if they have children, their own children make these types of mistakes. And so it's the same thing. So that's what I would say.
I appreciate that. And I think host families will also appreciate that bit of insight too. I think it, again, can be easy to get wrapped up in the daily monotony and the conflict and how you expect things to go. And if you're not communicating and talking about it in an effective way, it's going to go nowhere. And it's not going to be a good experience for anybody. And nobody wants that. Nobody.
No, for sure.
But hopefully move on to some more happier things. After you got moved into your second host family, it still wasn't necessarily what you were expecting, but you were a lot more at peace with where you were. Was there something about that host family that made you feel a bit more secure, or was it more just that mindset shift that allowed you to be comfortable with where you were?
The second host family, they were a lot less hands-on. They interacted less with each other in the home. There was less expectation to always be around. So I had a lot of time to myself, which I needed after that moment. And it also gave me an opportunity to put more energy into school. I really enjoyed my experience at school in France, despite classes being extremely long. Well, not the classes themselves, but the school day. The school day is very long, but I really enjoyed the friends I made in school. I really enjoyed being in school. It was my favorite part. I was so happy that I didn't have to change schools when I changed host families. So I prioritized investing in those relationships more. The second host family allowed me the space that I needed to invest more energy into school, which was good for me. Obviously, there wasn't tension with the second host family. It was just it wasn't the right fit either, but not in a conflict kind of way. Just we just weren't the same people. And that's also okay. Yeah,
absolutely. You're not supposed to get along with absolutely everybody. Not everyone's going to like everything. That's okay.
Yeah.
You were talking about how much you enjoyed being in school in France. So what were some of the things that you really enjoyed about it? And what were some of the differences that you noticed between going to school in France versus in the United States?
Well, the school day is very long. That's different.
Okay. How so?
Well, in the US, what would it be? Maybe 8 to 2:30 normally. In France, it'd be 8 to 4, 8 to 5, sometimes 8 to 6.
Wow.
Yeah. Long lunch break, though. Lunch break in the US, maybe half an hour. In France, an hour and a half. We also had a lot of free periods to study. some 2-hour classes, which was fun to get through, especially when you don't understand half of what's going on and you're just like falling asleep. One thing that was different was the sports. Sports are not part of school in France. You have to do it externally with a club. And because the school days are so long, you end up doing sports much later in the day. So I would do, I did swimming with my host sister. The host sister in my second family also swam. So I was able to join her pool and, well, her team. And so that was convenient because we were able to go to the same practices. And we wouldn't get home until like 8:30 sometimes. Yeah. And then I'd have to have dinner and study, and then I'd be in bed at midnight, and I'd have to wake up at 6 a.m. to be in the car by 6:30 to get the bus, get the hour long bus to school. Because we were out there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a busy experience. I was basically out all the time. And I wasn't used to that in the US. In the US, I was used to, I did swimming in the US, but that was just for the swim season. During the swim season, I had to get home at 5 or something, at 5:30. And I would do my homework and eat dinner and sleep. And I'd have a few hours to myself. In France, it was hard to have as much time for myself, but there are a lot more vacations in France. That's one thing that's also different.
Interesting.
So you get really burnt out, but then you have 2 weeks off, and then you recover. And then you get burnt out again, and then you recover, and then you get burnt out again. It's like a cycle. Like you once you get towards the 2-week break, you're like, oh, I need this. I feel myself falling off the edge. So it's different. They work you to death, but then you have more breaks. So I think that's something. But it's also me, because you said, like, I am a very high achiever. I put a lot of expectations to get good grades. And because of that, I studied a lot. And I also thought it would help improve my French to study a lot. And it did to a certain extent. But it was maybe 2 to 3 months in where I was like, my speaking hasn't improved at all. I can read much better than I did when I arrived, but I can't speak much better because I hadn't really interacted with people as much. In the US as well, there's maybe this culture of, because you have more time after school to yourself, and because sports are more associated with school, you see the same people all the time, and you can hang out after school. There's clubs, there's all these activities. There wasn't really that in France. I had little clubs in the school that I could go to during a break. But that wasn't more than 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So there was a lot of opportunity to meet people around lunchtime, or maybe sports class. Besides that, I would say that maybe there's less opportunities for socialization in French high school, at least in my experience. Even the way the courses are done in the US, it's a lot of interactive stuff. It's a lot of, they give you worksheets and then put you in groups and you have to work on the worksheets together. In France, it's like university. It's like a lecture. The teacher talks and then you take notes and no one speaks. So even language courses, which is why a lot of French people struggle with English, because they know how to read English pretty well, I think, because a lot of what English class in French is just reading texts. And then the teacher asks people questions randomly, but they never have a real conversation.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's how I would say French school is a bit different than US schools.
Yeah. Did you find that after experiencing both of these different schooling styles that you have a preference for either one?
Yeah, I think I prefer the US one.
Okay. Yeah.
I think,
why is that?
Just the more I like sports and clubs being a big thing. I like the idea of school pride. I like going to sports games and cheering on your school. I like being a part of those games. I did track and field. I did swimming. I think there's a real sense of community there that maybe is missing in France. But I will say I enjoyed my courses in France a lot because they were very high level. I think US schools have a lot of options for lower level courses, and that's fine. But
Yeah.
I want something a little more intense. And French high school really provided that for me. It's basically like every course is like an AP course
Oh, wow.
in French high school. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot more it's just more, you have to think harder. We had philosophy, we had geopolitics, we had we had economics and social science. So I feel like I learned a lot of interesting things from a French perspective that I couldn't have learned from US schooling.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I was giving a presentation on territorial conflict between India, China, and Pakistan at one point.
Whoa.
So it was I really enjoyed it for that.
Yeah. I could see the challenge, and I could see that being very intriguing and very fun if you're somebody who enjoys a challenge, which it seems like you do enjoy a challenge. So.
I will say though, the AP courses in the US do also give me that feeling. But I think it's a little too much. The US is they like to give homework, lots of unnecessary homework, in my opinion. It's like they think, oh, we're giving a high level class, we have to give these people hours and hours of homework. So if you do several AP classes in 1 year, you're swamped. Whereas they don't give as much homework in France. And also the schedule is different. In the US, we have the same courses every single day. In France, you have one course on Monday, another course on Wednesday, maybe the same course again on Monday, but it's not every single day. So you have breaks in between. So if you have homework, you'll have maybe 2 days in between the classes to get it done. Whereas in the US, it's literally every single night, every single day they give you something, and it's overwhelming. So I like how high level the French system is without leaving you so overwhelmed with maybe unnecessary work. Yeah.
I see your perspective, and you had mentioned it's very much like university. And once you broke down like the schedule, I definitely see how similar it is to a university style of education. That's interesting. And I think the US could do a bit more to help prepare students who are going to university and going to college to have more similar experiences like that, so they know what they're getting into. I think it would have benefited me for sure. but that's just speaking from my own experience. So, and remind me, what year did you go to France?
2019. Oh yeah. So 2019 to 2020.
Okay. Wow. Well, that seems to be a particularly poignant period in history of the world. Wonder why. The big thing in the room with us. So did that affect your time there at all?
Yes, very much so.
How so?
It was March, I believe, when the lockdown started, and I had to go home. So my exchange year was cut short 3 months.
Oh, wow.
I left mid-March as opposed to mid-June. So maybe even more than 3 months. Yeah, it was stressful. I will say I was happy to go home because with everything going on in the world, I wanted to be with my family. And I had already been away from my parents for 7 months at that point. Which is obviously the most ever it had been at that point. I was very happy to go home. It's the type of thing where I think in the moment I was very happy to go home. Obviously we touched on it a bit, but I didn't have the best moments always during my exchange. There were a lot of ups and downs, maybe more downs than ups. So I was very happy to be in a familiar environment again. And to the point where I was almost grateful for the lockdown happening. In the moment I was sad to leave, but when I arrived back, I was like, okay, this is much nicer. But I realized recently actually how much it did impact me, having to so violently return. Because normally I would have been able to be there for a couple more months, spend a lot more time with my friends at school. I would have had maybe 2 to 3 weeks off before I went home, where I could do things, go places, hang out with people. And that was all chopped, rug pulled out from under me. And at the time I was just happy to get home, but it's only recently when I realized that I in my subconscious, I kind of blocked out just how much it pained me, how much I missed out. I remember, so I volunteer for YFU And I volunteer for YFU France. And recently, I believe it was in May of this year, I did a regional meeting in the same region that I studied. I stayed with one of my host families. We didn't get into this, but I have more host families, because before I changed host families, I stayed with a couple transition host families.
Yeah.
And we got along super, super well. So
Yeah.
I whenever I go back to France, I stay with them because it didn't go well with the first family. The second family, it went fine, but we didn't really keep in touch that well. But those transition host families, I got along with really well. So when I go back to France, I stay with them. And then I do the YFU meetings there. It's now been almost 6 years since my exchange year, which is crazy. And the time really flew. I remember first starting out volunteering. I was almost the same age as the students, and in my head I still am. But this meeting in May really opened my eyes to, wait, there's a new generation coming in, and I especially noticed that with the volunteers. For once, I was the oldest volunteer there. I was the oldest volunteer, and the other volunteer had just come back from her exchange year and was in the same high school year as the exchange students and was like friends with them. And so it's May, it's the last meeting. I never got to experience this meeting when I was an exchange student because I had to leave. And I was just doing this meeting, and the subject of the meeting is the return. So how do you handle going back home? How do you manage expectations about sort of readapting to life in your natural family, and how your friends are going to react and all those things? So we finish the meeting and they get to talking about school, about, oh, we have this exam, we're doing this, oh, but when it's over, we're going to go here and it's going to be great. And it made me, I was very distraught after that meeting, because it made me realize that there was a lot that I missed out on because of going home early with COVID. And it took a new generation of volunteers coming in to make me a new generation who wasn't impacted by COVID. Because before, I was volunteering with people my age who went on the exchange at the same time, who had also had that COVID experience cut short. So we were together, being like, guys, really take advantage of every opportunity, because we didn't get to do this. And so we had like an emotional, we were each other's emotional support. But suddenly I was all alone with another volunteer who had just done an amazing exchange year to the fullest, and talking with the other exchange students how they're gonna go to Disneyland and all those things. And I'm just like, wow. So it really prompted a renaissance of of all the feelings that I was feeling. 6 years later, it shows how much the exchange really, really impacts you, stays with you. And it's such a powerful thing. It really defines your whole life, I think. And for that, it's so beautiful, whether it's good or bad. And good and bad is arbitrary. I mean, I can say it's bad that I missed out because of COVID. But it's good that I can look back now and reminisce, and that it also gave me more motivation to return to Europe. It gave me more motivation to be like, there's things I didn't complete. There's things I still want to do that I didn't get to do. And since my exchange year, all the things that I wanted to do that I didn't get to do then, I've done now. Yeah, there's ups and downs, there's goods and bads, but it's really how you react to it. And whether you react right after it happens, or it takes you 6 years, or it takes you 10 years, it'll come back around. And so that was really eye-opening to me, something that happened recently, just to be like, wow, this is still impacting me in this way.
And I've only ever heard about how exchange was impacted by the pandemic from the administrative side. I've never really been able to talk to any of the alumni to hear what that experience was like for them. And I can't imagine how just world shaking and scary that was for everybody. Oh my gosh, and trying to quickly get everybody back home and trying to just make everybody feel safe and okay, and try to get back to some sort of semblance of normal when nothing they were going back to was going to be normal.
Yeah.
So you had so many like overwhelming changes during your time abroad. Oh my goodness. And the fact that you still come back and you volunteer. So even if somebody were to listen to this and say, well, Tyler had a terrible time on exchange. Why would he ever stick around? I mean, with having the challenges that you did face while you were on exchange, why do you continue to give your time to volunteer with YFU? What makes you stay?
It's a very good question because sometimes I wonder about it myself.
Understandable.
But the thing is, I mean, it took me a long time to work through what happened, and especially to grow a love for France again. I when I returned home, I blamed all of my problems on France. I was like, this country sucks. Never want to go back there. And it's not true. I had one experience of a multitude of possibilities. It wasn't France's fault. It wasn't the host family's fault. It's just something that happened. And and one thing that really kept me with YFU was the fact that YFU was so supportive of me when I was going through those difficult times. It inspired me to want to help other exchange students when they were maybe facing those moments. And it's so inspiring to see other exchange students pursuing the same journey. It's inspiring to see, like, I almost think of them as like mini me's. I'm like, they're just, I see myself in them, and it brings me a lot of joy and satisfaction to realize that I've made it on the other side, that I see these students and I'm helping them through this anxiety, all these questions, all these concerns, all these sort of apprehensions. And I'm coming at it from a point of view of, I've done it all. I've seen it all. You couldn't have had a more crazy up and down experience than, and yeah, I see myself as someone able to help these exchange students, which is why I wanted to come back.
Yeah. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I think with the multitude of different types of experiences that you had, good and bad, I think that makes you a lot more equipped to help these students than some of the other volunteers who maybe had just nothing but wonderful experiences. And I think your perspective and the mindset shifts that you went through is really valuable to impart on these students. And I'm glad you're still here and you're helping these students go through this experience. Especially in the beginning, they have no idea what they're getting into. It's great, it's exciting, it's terrifying, but they really don't know. And then here's you who's gone through it. And I mean, you're not much older than them right now. I mean, when you said you were 22, I would have never guessed that. My God, I feel old. Anyway. But I mean, it's like having like a big brother in a way to be able to model things off of and listen to and relate more than anything. And so I'm so glad that you're still here and that you're helping the next generation of these students. And just thank you.
Yeah, I hope it helps. The hardest part is actually in the middle, because when they leave, they're super excited. The first meeting, there's a lot of issues, but a lot of it's related to the language. Yeah, sort of adapting in terms of, I can't express myself how I want to, all those things. I find the first meeting and the second meeting to be sort of the most in between. That time is the most crucial, I think. It's the point where they either start to gain confidence or the confidence really tapers away based on things that are happening around them. And because the thing is, I also had the same guidance, and I still, despite the guidance, I still had these conflicts. And it's very hard to put yourself in the situation of these students. But more than anything, I just want to provide a nice sort of conversation partner for them, where they can sort of unload and just just know that someone else has been through it. Someone gets it. Yeah. And maybe I can't fully help. I'm not what's the word? Equipped to deal with everything, but I just want to be there for them as much as I can.
I get that. That's great. So you had meant you're volunteering with YFU. You mentioned volunteering with YFU France, and we've talked about the fact that you've gone back. So when did you finally go back to France?
It was the summer after my senior year. So
Okay.
it had been a year and 3 months then
Okay.
since my exchange, because I decided to go to university in the Netherlands, um,
Oh,
which I had already started looking at when I was in France.
yeah.
Because while I did love schooling in France in some ways, in other ways I didn't.
Yeah.
It's a lot of learning things by heart and then spitting it out on a piece of paper. That's sort of how they test you, and I don't find that as active a learning style. So I knew I didn't want to study in France, but I wanted to study
Mhm.
close to France because I wanted the
Yeah.
opportunity to go back often
Mhm.
and volunteer and those types of things. I wanted to study in English, and the Netherlands had the cheapest, highest quality English language programs, and it's a
Mhm.
2 hour train ride from Paris, and then from Paris it's an hour, 2 hours from where my host family is. So yeah, that was sort of the motivating factor of returning, knowing that
Yeah.
I had a visa.
Mhm.
I was going to study in the Netherlands, and before popping up there, I flew into Paris, and that was the first step to reconciling
Yeah.
and being like, because it was always something I wanted to do during my exchange year. I wanted to, because I was so close to Paris but so far, because
Mhm.
it's I mean, from by US standards it's nothing. It's like an hour drive, an hour and a half
Yeah.
drive, but for
Mhm.
French standards it's far. It's a lot. It's effort. It's effort
Yeah.
that, and French people, they've been living there their whole lives. They're not going to want to go into Paris.
It's like
Uh,
done that.
yeah. Um, and I did have the opportunity to go into Paris a couple times during my exchange
Yep.
year, which I was very grateful for. But I wanted to return on my own terms,
Mhm.
and just be young and dumb and run around and do things.
Yeah.
So I met with a friend who I met during those first 2 weeks
Mhm.
in Tours in the language camp.
Mhm.
And we met back up in Paris. We stayed in a hostel together, and we just spent a week running around the city. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And that was the first step to being like, I can see myself having a life in France. And what happened during my exchange year does not define my
Mhm.
relationship with this country moving forward. If
Yeah.
anything, it strengthens it. I had such a deep connection, even if I didn't have such a deep connection with the host families, I
Yeah.
grew such a deep connection with French language and culture that I knew I needed to return. And yeah. So
Yeah.
and since then I go back very often. And now my
Okay.
parents live here, so that's another thing we can get into.
What? Yeah. How did that happen?
So my parents welcomed a French student
Mhm.
a couple years after my exchange year. They figured it was time to pay their dues, so to say.
Yeah.
Um, and so they welcomed a French student, and it went super well. And he really integrated in my parents' lifestyle. I wasn't there at the time when he was there. I
Mhm.
saw him when he was there over Christmas break, which was
Mhm.
very fun. Um, and he fits right in. It's great.
Yeah. Well,
And we visited him in France maybe 2, 3 years ago now, maybe two. And my parents loved it so much. They loved the region. They loved where he was, that they
Mhm.
decided that, my dad's retired now,
Mhm.
and they wanted to move out, and they figured that they would retire in France. So yeah, they got really close with my host brother's family,
Mhm.
and they decided to move here, and they bought a house. They're renovating it now, and yeah. So
Oh
now
my god.
my life is really entwined with this country.
Yeah, you can't you take the guy out of France, but you can't take France out of the guy. Either
Yeah,
it's yo yeah,
it's
you
crazy. And it's crazy just because of a bookmark that my French teacher handed me.
wow, that's wild. Oh my goodness. That
Yeah,
is do they know French? Do they learn French
they're
to
taking
move?
classes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And
they're. It's a slow process, especially because we're in an English speaking household. It's not
yeah.
like YFU where they speak French. I could barely speak English when I called my parents every 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
I was messing up my words and everything. But we speak English in the
Yeah.
home, so
Yeah.
it's harder for them to make progress. But my dad is he's golfing here, and he's made some golf buddies, and they've made, obviously they're close with my host brother's family, and they've met friends through them. So there's a lot of English speakers, but also a lot of people who maybe aren't as confident in English, and my parents are very good at speaking with those types of people and using the words that they do know. A lot of trial and error. I think they'll get there someday, but
It's like a long-term exchange for them too.
Basically, yeah.
And so you had mentioned you go kind of back and forth between, I assume, France. Is it France and the Netherlands, or France and the US, or all three?
Both. All three, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did my bachelor's in the Netherlands for 3 years, and I'm starting my master's there.
So wonderful.
Yeah. And my parents used to have a home in the US, so I would go there for the holidays. Now they have a home here. So I was in the US recently. I did the YFU event, and I traveled, and I saw some family in the US. And now I'm back in France, just hanging out at my parents here.
Wow. My goodness. It's just, I'm kind of honestly a little speechless. It's like just such a full circle moment, and such an impact from just a bookmark and your dad seeing an article in a newspaper and having such a dramatic change with your entire family's life. It's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it couldn't have happened without, I mean, I had my experience in France, and my parents claim that they were inspired by me to do this type of thing. And it's so touching for that full circle moment to happen, to realize that as a child, I inspired my parents. It's just it could bring tears to my eyes. And I'm just so grateful that they are so open with me and so willing to listen. They always give me the space that I need to express myself, to be who I am. And it's just amazing to know that the person that I am inspires them. Yeah. So I'm here. I help them however and wherever I can. I've made countless appointments over the phone. We took the cats to the vet the other day, which was fun. So it's funny. There are a lot of English speakers here, though. Yeah. So they're having a great time. They're really enjoying it here. My dad's golfing. He and my mom is still working here. She does, but she does it online, so she can work from anywhere. They have a very active social life here. And before, when we used to call to catch up, it would always be me talking. It would always be, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And they'd be like, oh, same old, same old. And now whenever we call, I'm like bombarded with them, with like all the things happening with them. And I can't even get a word in because they're so much more active than they were before. And it's so wonderful to see. Yeah. It just shows how powerful the exchange experience is, I think. And just how my host brother, how just amazing he is, and how his family is, and how they really changed our lives. It's just like connections with people is so beautiful. And that's one of the main things that YFU taught me, was just how to connect with people, how to handle conflicts with people, how to connect with people in a meaningful way. And I just think that's priceless. Yeah. Which is why I wish every high schooler could go on exchange.
Are you ready to see the world and gain a global perspective?
With YFU USA, you can study abroad and immerse yourself in a new culture, language, and way of life.
It's more than just an adventure. It's a chance to grow academically and personally.
Start your journey today by visiting yfuusa.org and find out how you can study abroad with YFU USA.
Bye.
The more I hear these stories from the alumni, such as yourself, the more I so wish I could have had that opportunity myself. But I'm grateful for the fact that I get to, it's almost like a vicarious experience from all of you, and seeing it play out with the students who are here and abroad. And I'm grateful for it. I think eventually, if I have my own children one day, I think my husband and I have talked about, after my experience working here, that going on exchange is going to be something they should, and we're going to encourage them to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Hosting myself too would be nice, but I agree. I think it really should be something that every student should experience. You don't have that level. You don't get that level of maturity and conflict resolution and just experience and cultural and learning, like navigating cultural differences in any way that I think is impactful as going on exchange.
Definitely.
And that's
Definitely.
another big reason why we wanted to do this.
Yeah.
To hear it like straight from you all. Like, no, we're not lying to you. This really does change lives.
Yeah.
For real.
It's incredible just to hear other people's stories as well. And that's also a motivating factor as to why I stayed within the YFU community, why I wanted to come back and volunteer, because it's like no one else understands besides the people who also went on exchange. So it's an opportunity to be in an environment where you don't have to explain yourself to people, where they went through the same thing as you did. You really see how much it impacted all of our lives. Yeah. It's crazy. I do think it's a shame now, though. I mean, more recently, I think for more and more YFU organizations, it's harder to find host families. There are a lot of students who aren't being placed. And as I know for YFU France, this is a problem. And it's a shame. I think times are changing. People may not have the means to host, or may not have the means to even send their child abroad. So I hope that YFU can stay active and continue to thrive, because it's such a beautiful thing, and maybe we'll see how the organization changes in the future. Because I feel like there are some things that maybe need to be discussed, finding solutions to these issues. I mean, I know in where I volunteer in France, there was a dramatic decrease in the amount of students. I think last year there were maybe 7, 8. Now there's 2. So it's like they don't even need me anymore, because they have other volunteers that they don't have to pay a train ride for. So it's a shame. I think I feel like the organization is shrinking in scale. And I wish. I mean, it's easy for me to say, but I wish something could be done to encourage more hosting and especially more hosting. I think even within the organization, maybe there could be more effort to thank the host families, to make it worthwhile for the host families as well. I would say like more benefits to the host families would be a major step, I think, in getting more people to host. I hear it over and over again. I talk to people about, oh, would you want to host a student? And it's like, no, I can't. It's too expensive. Like they're willing to be like initial welcome families where maybe you'd stay for a month or 2 while they're trying to, when they delay the process of trying to find a permanent host family. Because maybe that's more doable for them financially. But I've talked to families before where it's like, I wouldn't even consider it. Even the family I stayed with in Tours, I saw her recently, and we were talking about it, and I was trying to advertise at YFU. She had friends over, and we were eating out on the terrace, and I tried to advertise YFU a bit, and no one was biting, because it was even she was like, yeah, we welcomed you for 2 weeks. That's like nothing, but I couldn't imagine a whole year. I eat a lot. I was a growing boy. I ate like so much. Like it just, and that was even a problem within my own host families. I was in the 2 host families I was in. They had just daughters who didn't eat as much, and they were like appalled by the amount I ate. And it's like it gets to a point where they look at it. They don't look at it from a human connection perspective. They look at it from a resource perspective. Like, do we have the resources that we need to provide for this child? And maybe we don't. So, but anyways, that's my YFU rant. My YFU organization rant.
And it's something that we're seeing not even just within YFU. It's something we're seeing across the entire exchange community.
Really?
It's not just an us problem. It's happening in other organizations. Things are getting more expensive. Tensions are growing. And it's harder than ever before to find people who are willing to open up their homes and be a host family, or are able to pay for their child to study abroad. It's challenging. It's incredibly challenging, and we're exploring options, and we're trying new things to hopefully encourage it. I don't know if it's something that that YFU alone is going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think it's something that maybe all of us organizations are going to have to come together and start working together to try to find some answers to these questions and these problems. But it's a big transition period right now. And I do want to assure you that we are trying.
Woo.
There's I mean, our hands are tied in a lot of ways by different regulations that we are held to with, like what host families can receive for hosting.
Right.
But I mean, at some point, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I hope so.
I think having honest conversations like this too can also help open the doors to have more of these talks and hopefully get more people to see that there are issues that need to be addressed. And to find creative answers to those solutions.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want to shy away from these sort of talks. I don't think that's beneficial to anybody. I think trying to just put the smiley face on and saying, "Yep, everything's fine," as a service.
Yeah.
There are issues,
definitely.
and there are things that need to be figured out.
No, definitely. Yeah.
So I appreciate the rant.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to kind of start to wrap up this time together, we talked so much about the exchange experience, which has been wonderful, but we haven't really been able to touch on, I think, what some people may be curious about, which is some things about France that you were really able to enjoy. So were there like certain foods that stood out as something that you love and you recommend that people try? Are there places that they should go? Different customs that they should know about, like a quick synopsis of different France-related things.
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah. Didn't say it was going to be easy.
I mean, there's a lot of good food in France.
Yeah.
I think a common experience maybe within the exchange is like having, within people who go to France, is this expectation of like French cuisine, and then the cuisine in the host family, the home cooking maybe doesn't live up to those expectations. But the ingredients in France are much better, much fresher.
Yeah.
The bread, incredible.
Usually we hear about German bread. It's nice to hear about another country's bread.
Germany has great bread, but it's not the same. It is not the same. Good for them, but no. No, I think German bread has a lot more variety than French bread, but I do love French bread for its simplicity in a way, and just the flavor of it. It's something you can't get anywhere else. I mean, I think the baguette is like a UNESCO heritage. It's crazy. And that's just something that you get at a boulangerie for less than €1. At least it should be. So I think there's not a specific dish, or maybe there is. I love tartes, like any sort of savory pie in France. Okay. I love, especially in the summer, where it's like fresh tomatoes and cheese on this like dough, on this sort of like, it's like a croissant type dough.
Okay.
That sort of has layers, and then you eat that with like those are the types of foods that I enjoy in France. They have a lot of salads here, a lot of good fresh vegetables, a lot of nice bread, a lot of nice cheese. I love cheese. I love the cheese in France. There's infinite possibilities. There's so many things to learn. One of my host dads would always try to quiz me on cheeses, quiz all the exchange students, because he had multiple exchange students. He would always quiz us on the cheeses, and it's like, are you a real French person? Because no, because there's so many, and it's so hard to know them all. But you'll if your host family likes cheese, you'll get to know a lot of different cheeses, and just the way that they eat, I think is something that I enjoy. I didn't enjoy it at the time. It was another culture shock for me, because it's very breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe between lunch and dinner there's a little snack, but otherwise you don't eat outside of those times. In the US, we're more lax. We just eat whenever, and a lot of times I don't even think we eat with the family. We'll just sort of, especially lunch, it's just take something from the fridge and go. The way my house was in the US is literally just, oh, you want to eat, take something, go into your room. And then, and that does not fly in France. Mealtime is a sharing time. It's the one time in the day, because you're so busy with school. Parents are so busy with work. It's the one time in the day you actually get together and share things about your day. And I like how they eat as well, in terms of you have if it's a special occasion, you start with the apéro, which is like little snacks and alcoholic beverages. And then you move on to sort of the either the what is it, appetizer in English? Because in French, entrée is the appetizer, but entrée in English is the main dish. So you start with so you have the apéro, and then the appetizer, and then the main dish, and then a salad, and then cheese, and then dessert. So it's a whole thing, and you can be at the dinner table if you have guests over, and they do all of these steps. They can be over for hours, and it's just it's something in that I really, really enjoy. Just it's gave me such an appreciation for welcoming people, and I'm so inspired by my host moms who know how to cook these meals. Like, I've seen them so many times. It's just so effortless for them. They prepare things the day before. They have it ready. They know they have so many recipes just implanted in their brains, and people come over and they lay out everything. And it's just, I want to be like that. I really like that culture of, it's summertime. We're eating outside. People are laughing, hanging out, and we're cooking in the kitchen, and we bring out all the courses one by one. It's just a lovely culture in that way, I think. That I think in the US we have, I would say, barbecue culture is somewhat similar to that. But I think it's a lot more laid back. It's a lot of plastic forks and paper plates. But I think it's a little more elaborate in France, and I enjoy that a lot. Yeah.
And for a student who may have maybe putting together a bucket list of places to go, if they get the chance, and they're in France. I mean, I'm sure there's so many, but are there a few that you say, in your experience, are can't miss, must go places?
Let's see. If they don't get the chance during their exchange year, they'll find some other time. But Paris is definitely a must if you're in France. And I think it's reasonable to expect your host family to bring you to Paris at least once. There's a lot of things to do and see. And any friends you make, they'll be able to guide you. I really like Brittany is very gorgeous. I've been to Saint-Malo, which is a town on the northern coast. It's just gorgeous, very nice beaches. I rented a bike and biked through the towns along the coast. It's wonderful. Another coastal town, more like if Saint-Malo is here, it's like here in
Okay. Gotcha.
Here in France. I don't know which way my camera's facing, but it's like if you draw a line through the middle of France and you put a dot on that line where the coast is, it's there. La Rochelle. La Rochelle is gorgeous. It's a very cool sort of port city with this old harbor and these beautiful stone towers. And it's very close to l'Île de Ré, which is it's almost like a paradise type island. Lots of rich Parisians have second homes there. And you can just go there, bike around. There's beautiful beaches, beautiful nature. From La Rochelle, you can take a ferry to different islands. It's wonderful. Just honestly, the whole coastline of France is gorgeous on any coast. I was in Nantes recently, and we drove up to the coast from Nantes and to a town called Pornic, and it was gorgeous, beautiful town. You can hike along the coast and there's beautiful beaches. It's just wonderful. I went to the Plage de Débarquement in Normandy, where what's it called in English? where the American cemetery is.
Like a mausoleum or a crypt or like
it was
cemetery?
it was like a graveyard cemetery.
Okay.
Where sort of the American soldiers came in during World War
Oh,
II.
like you're thinking like Arlington.
I don't remember the name,
Or like okay, yeah.
But I think it's worth, especially as an American, going to the American cemetery there, and just understanding some of that history and the gravity of it. Is very, it's a very must thing to see, I think. Yeah.
I just now figured out what you were trying to say.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought you were talking about like it's like Arlington, but no, you're talking about the beach where they stormed the beaches of Normandy in World War II, correct? And it's an area, a burial area for American soldiers who were lost there, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Yes. That's what it is.
Gone.
No, don't worry. So that's that I would say is a must. I really love Lyon as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Lyon. I went on a trip with my parents. We did Lyon and Annecy, which has a beautiful town along this lake with the view of the Alps. It's gorgeous. If you go more down towards the Alps, there's these beautiful landscapes. And Lyon is also a very nice city. Lots of culture, lots of influences. There's a lot of Roman influence, Roman, Renaissance, Gothic. It's all there. It's gorgeous. And I haven't explored the south of France as much, but I would love to. I've been near Marseille. What was it called? I went hiking along the Calanque de Marseille. These beautiful cliff sides along the Mediterranean coast, and I went hiking along there and dove in the water with friends. It was awesome. So I would recommend that as well. My parents now live in Aveyron, which not even French people know a lot about it. It's not a very popular region, which is why my parents picked it, because it's not very touristy, but it's still very nice. Beautiful landscapes. It's more center south of France, and they live near a town called Rodez, and Rodez is very nice. It's known for this sort of red sandstone, and there's a cathedral on top of this hill in the middle. The town is on a hill. The city's on a hill, and the cathedral's at the top. And it's in this red sandstone. It's like this red cathedral. It's gorgeous. There's so many things to see in the region. So much beautiful nature. You get part of the central Massif mountain range. There's the Larzac, which is a big plateau. Just beautiful nature. Yeah. France is wonderful all around. There's a lot of things to see and do, to a point where, like, don't be like me and and be like, what's there going to be to see there when your host family tells you you're going to go someplace.
This isn't Paris.
Yeah, no, literally. It's France has so many beautiful things to offer. That's what I love so much about it. French people don't need to go abroad. A lot of them do, but they don't need to. There's mostly everything in France. Those are just a few things that come to mind. I could probably think of 20 other things, but yeah.
Well, I think we've got a great list started for anybody who is planning to travel to France and places that they should go, and for students who may be going to explore themselves.
Yeah.
So my last two questions, for one, what's next for you? You had mentioned you're getting your master's degree and your parents are settling into life in France. And so what's next for Tyler?
What is next for Tyler? I'll be in Amsterdam for the next year doing my master's. And I would like to continue my exploring the world adventures, because I sort of got hooked. YFU hooked me really to that feeling. It's so you're so out of your comfort zone, but you learn so much. And YFU really taught me to be comfortable being in chaos, just to have no clue what's going on around me, but to just sit there and be like, oh, I don't understand, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just addicted to the feeling of arriving somewhere and having no clue what's going on, and then staying there for a long time, and then eventually making those connections and leaving there knowing that a piece of you is now connected to this place that you didn't know of before, that you couldn't imagine. So I studied in Japan during university, and I approached that sort of like my YFU year. But the problem is it was a university exchange. I was staying on a campus with other international students. It didn't go as I had planned in my perfect vision. And that really frustrated me, because I didn't reach the level of Japanese that I had wanted to. And I didn't make the kinds of connections that I wanted to either. It was harder to reach out to the Japanese students because I was constantly with the internationals. So I returned to Japan. I did a gap semester, and I returned to Japan for 3 months. And this time I stayed in host families, and that was much more fruitful. And a lot of the lessons I learned with YFU also applied there. So now in Amsterdam, I'm trying to keep in touch with that Japanese side. I'm staying. I'm working at a cafe run by Japanese people. So I speak Japanese to the staff like all day.
Okay.
And I really want to keep that relationship with Japan. So after I graduate from university in Amsterdam, I'm considering returning to Japan.
Okay.
However, another option is going to Mexico, because I've been wanting to go there for so long.
What?
This is crazy, because this also goes back to YFU. Because my year, YFU Mexico is kind of struggling now, but when I left in 2019, YFU Mexico was at the top of its game. There were so many Mexicans among the exchange students my year that were in France, and they were so much fun. I made so many friends, and we're still in touch to this day. And I was like, I want to go to Mexico. My parents preferred me to go to the Netherlands, of course, as opposed to Mexico. It's always, since I met them and connected with them on that level, I just realized how much fun I would have in Mexico. And I took Spanish courses in France when, as part of because you can choose a language, I could take Spanish or German. I could have been exempted from it, but as being the tryhard that I am, I was like, I'm going to take Spanish. And it's very similar to French. It's the Romance language family. So it was very easy to pick up on. And it's so frustrating now, because I remember I haven't studied Spanish in a long time, and I can still understand stuff in Spanish sometimes better than I can in Japanese after having studied Japanese for 3 years. And it's like, what are we doing? Because Japanese is just so different. But anyways, I would like to go to Mexico and sort of rekindle those contacts that I made in 2019 and continue that journey there and really perfect my Spanish. So it's all up in the air. Either I'll go back to Japan, or I'll go to Mexico. I'll find a job and sort of start a life there for maybe a year or two. And if I go back to Japan, I think it would be in the context of a language learning program, just to get to a level of Japanese where maybe I could use it for employment down the line. There's a lot of programs, there's a lot of scholarships that I think I would want to aim for. So that's sort of what I'm thinking of now, but it's still up in the air. I know for the moment, I'm definitely returning to my parents, because now this is my parents' new home, and I also want to make it my home as well. Since they left the US, I've sort of been feeling like I don't have an anchor anymore, and I would like to reestablish that anchor. By next summer, my parents' new house will be finished, and they'll be living in it, and it will be very nice. And I'd like to take advantage of that, spend as much time with my parents as I can, because as you've probably noticed, I'm often not there. I'm often not here.
Busy traveling the world.
So that is what's next for me.
Awesome. And I didn't ask, what is your degree going to be in?
My bachelor's was in international studies.
Okay.
And I specialized in East Asia. So that's why I learned Japanese and I studied East Asian history and culture
Yeah.
because it was something I'd always been interested in. I don't know why I didn't go to Japan with YFU, but for some reason I decided to go to France, and here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now my master's will be in urban geography.
Well, I wish you nothing but the best on your future endeavors. I'm sure you're going to be just fine. And I'm very excited to see.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. And I'm very excited to see where you end up, what you end up doing. I'll be definitely keeping my eye on you. And if other people would like to also keep their eye on you and see where in the world is Tyler, are you on social media publicly? Where can people find you anywhere?
I am on social media. Not that I use it that often. But
You're busy traveling and learning languages and exploring the world.
I should probably post more often, but I am on Instagram. So yeah, it's my name, Instagram, okay. Tyler.McCamley. So
all right.
Yeah, there's just a little dot in between, and then that's where you'll find it.
Easy enough to remember. And we will definitely make sure that info is in the episode notes so people can find you and follow your world travels, and wish you luck on your future endeavors. And
thank you so much.
And Tyler, again, thank you so much for sharing with me this incredible story that you've got. It has been such a pleasure learning more about you and getting to know you. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, truly, I just cannot wait to see where in the world you end up.
Me too. But but thank you so much for the opportunity. It's great to talk about these things because it's such an important part of my life, and a lot of people around me, unless they're YFU people, they don't really get it. So it's so nice to be in a space where I can share these things and really tell my story, because I haven't told it in a while, and it's made me realize how connected everything is. It's just wonderful. So yeah, to everyone out there who may not be having the best exchange year as well, it will get better, definitely. Yeah.
Take it from Tyler. He knows what he's talking about.
I hope so.
That has been this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I've been your host, Kelsey Ross. Until next time, bye.
Listen to Life Exchange Stories of Understanding now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.